home for sports. Guaranteed Human. Make us the #1 preset in your car and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. This is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Carl Schoening.
Welcome into the starting lineup. I'm Carl Schoening, starting at the voice coming through your speakers. LG is in the starting lineup with me as the technical director, making sure we look good over the YouTube airwaves and sound good over the radio airwaves. The NBA draft loses a first-round prospect to NIL. The government is getting involved in college sports, and I'm hooked on a new show. But first, we are in San Antonio, Texas, and we, of course, have to start with Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. The Spurs are taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and for the first time in these playoffs, the young Spurs are facing elimination. It's been a tough road for the Spurs as everybody sees the well-documented Game 5 where the Thunder were able to take advantage of all the opportunities given to them and come away with a victory in Oklahoma City. And there is no reason to believe that the Spurs will not answer right back. Some discourse from that Game 5, just to clean up a few of those, I guess, little details that reminisce. If anybody was watching at the end of the game, there was a hard foul on Mason Plumlee where he was fighting through a screen and lowered his shoulder a little bit into Jared McCain. And McCain, who was supposed to be setting a screen according to the way the play was set up, if you watch the play design, was not really keeping attention to the play, and he gets barreled over by a 7-footer. The NBA decided that they needed to go ahead and upgrade that to a flagrant 1 foul. I strongly disagree that it should have been called a flagrant 1 foul. I don't disagree that it should have been called a foul on Mason Plumlee. However, it was closer to a moving screen on Jared McCain than it was to a flagrant foul, and in terms of just my belief on that. So just kind of cleaning up that Mason Plumlee will have accumulated a flagrant foul point, not that big of a deal, and that's just unfortunate that there's a little more discourse that perhaps should have been that people were assuming that Mason Plumlee was making a dirty play on Jared McCain.
Yeah,
so he gets a flagrant for that
no,
one.
the Thunder will not start Game 6 with a free throw.
Oh, I saw that was going around. People didn't realize that wasn't the rule. That's not the rule at all.
I saw that. People were saying, oh, this is going to be the first game where the Thunder get to start the game with the free throw. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works.
No, but, I disagree that it was a dirty play. It was very much a play where Jared McCain was kind of coasting because there was only less than 2 minutes left to play in a 14-point game. And if you look at the play, there are 3 Thunder players, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jared McCain, all kind of casually coming across midcourt. And they were supposed to set what's called a horn set, where you have 2 screens where the ball handler can pick if he's going to take the screen to the left or the right. And Plumlee decides to pressure the ball because the way the lineups work, Mason Plumlee was tasked to guard Alex Caruso, who I guess was technically the 4, and Isaiah Hartenstein was the 5 in that Thunder lineup, and he pressures the ball. And McCain and Hartenstein are not ready to set screens, and lo and behold, playing defense and still using the screen, Alex Caruso decides to go to Jared McCain, and a 7-footer barrels over a 6'4" guy, and there's going to be some contact, especially when the 6'4" guy's not ready, and I disagree that was a flagrant foul, and it's soft.
And no, Wemby did not secretly whisper into Bismack and Plumlee's ear to go and put hits out on the Thunder players out there when they came in off the bench.
Yeah, and if you thought that the Mason Plumlee foul was dirty, and then you also thought that the Bismack Biyombo foul was dirty, you're just soft.
Bismack was not even dirty at all.
No, it was a clean block.
That was incidental
McCain,
contact.
Yeah, and McCain was the one who drove into Bismack, and that's just part of basketball. And the fact that there was a foul called on that play at all just shows how the officials have really, I guess, softened up in this league, and I hate it. You look back at the way that some of the games were called just a decade ago with Kobe Bryant and Carmelo Anthony going at each other. Playoff basketball has definitely degraded, and I think that the conversation about Game 5 has really been that Oklahoma City has changed the way that you play the game because everybody on that team is foul baiting, and there were just so many plays that came out that it makes me think that tonight, and I was going somewhere with all of this, makes me feel that tonight the whistle is going to be favorable in San Antonio's direction in the sense that there's going to be very limited foul baiting call. Maybe SGA gets a couple calls because he's SGA and he's the league MVP, but I don't think that they're going to give those fouls to the Thunder. And I've been waiting to say this all series long, and it feels like this is going to be the game where it actually happens. The Thunder feel like the boy who cried wolf. They keep getting foul called, and people keep believing that they got the fouls that they keep selling. And now that the league has finally been, I guess, exposed to calling these fouls in favor of the Thunder, and even Adam Silver on the Pat McAfee show yesterday said that that's just sort of part of the game, is how the players are able to sell the calls. It's not necessarily flopping, it's just selling the call. I get the feeling that that's going to actually lock in the officials to not give those calls to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is going to be I think a big factor in this game tonight is, for example, you guys remember the Jalen Williams play where he literally jogs into Keldon Johnson and then hits the deck, and they call the foul on Keldon Johnson. And on the broadcast, Jamal Crawford asks, "Where's the foul?" Reggie Miller says, "There is none. That is a play on in the NBA Western Conference Finals." There was also that play where Jared McCain elbows Dylan Harper, who's applying pressure in the backcourt, and he stays in the play and has to track behind him, and he stops and flops, and he just takes his feet out from underneath him. That goes viral. There's so many plays that the Thunder have on social media that I get the feeling that the NBA is going to almost say, hey, we think that this is the way it's been called, and this is the way it needs to be called. So I think Oklahoma City, especially in OKC, gets a generational whistle. They will get those foul calls in Oklahoma City, perhaps even in Game 7. But I think in San Antonio tonight, the Frostbank Center crowd, sensing the desperation that the Spurs are going to be in, are going to be ready to give the officials some nonstop grief all night long on any of those questionable shots. And we're going to eventually see the Spurs come away with a win, force a Game 7. That is my 6:07 a.m. take here this morning on the San Antonio radio airwaves, is that the officials are going to eventually just treat the Thunder as a full-on, blown-out boy who cried wolf. Even if they are legitimately fouled, there's going to be times tonight where the officials say, hey, we can't really believe you because you flopped so much in the past. And that will be a big factor as to why the Spurs take this series in 7 games. But first, they got to win it tonight. Another little discourse that came out yesterday over the Spurs and the Thunder Game 5 in Oklahoma City on, what was that, Tuesday night? This week without Monday has really thrown me off on what day of the week it is. But the Spurs had a post-game media availability, usually always with Wemby. Victor Wembanyama decides that he wants to skip out on post-game media availability. I don't know if that automatically comes with a fine, but Shams Charania tweeted out that Wemby was warned about not showing up to talk to media, and I'm fine with that. I get the feeling that Wemby was emotional after the loss. He's a 22-year-old, and a lot of discourse has been made about that. Maybe we talk about it a little bit later in the show, but Victor, I like that he's obviously ready to come out and play tonight, and part of that frustration that we could have potentially seen in the post-game press conference is going to probably carry over into tonight, and I think Wemby plays quote-unquote upset and has a much better game tonight, as I think he only went 4-15 from the field against Oklahoma City. He does go 12-12 against OKC in Game 5, but I think we see a much more motivated and determined Victor Wembanyama tonight in, for all intents and purposes, what could be the last home game of the season for the Spurs. Even if they win tonight, they still have to beat OKC in Oklahoma City. So back of the Spurs' mind, this is the last chance potentially for the Spurs at the Frostbank Center to give the home crowd a good game. I don't see the Spurs losing tonight.
And to all the haters out there that saying Wemby's getting special treatment, he should be fined for not showing up to the media press conference after the game. They are following the rules. The rules say the first offense is a warning, second offense is a fine. So this is the first time Wemby has done this, so he gets a warning. So you can sit back in your armchairs, you haters.
Yeah, and some people were even saying that he didn't get fined for the flagrant 2 elbow.
He was ejected. He wasn't allowed to be there.
Well, he did get fined the standard $2,000. He was not additionally fined.
Exactly. I thought
money.
you were saying because he didn't do a press conference that night.
No. He didn't do a press conference that night because he didn't need to because he was ejected.
He was ejected. So he's ejected from all NBA game activities for that particular game, including post game.
Yeah, there were some people who were thinking that he got a pass on both of those situations. It's not the case. He still got fined whatever $2,000 is to a multimillionaire, I'm sure. I want to say Jimmy Butler was fined $25,000 for skipping out on a post-game press conference. And at a certain point, maybe Wemby's still early enough in his career that $25,000 will hurt. But when we'll talk about the difference between what that kind of money means to someone who is obviously not a multi-million-dollar basketball player, then we can digress. But I remember one time I think it was in the 2013 finals, they gave Dwayne Wade a retrospective flop fine, which was $5,000. But I guarantee you that he would have traded that $5,000 for the possession in the NBA finals, because I saw somebody say that with the salary that Dwayne Wade was making in that season, a $5,000 fine to him would have been the equivalent of a $13 fine to somebody making $50,000 a year. So, they obviously are playing in a different tax bracket than we are, and some of these fines, they seem like they might eye pop a little bit to us.
You mean
standard
the NBA
humans.
Actually called a flopping technical on D Wade?
That would have been.
Oh, wow.
That would be nice if they went ahead and retrospectively called these fouls and flops in.
So somebody
these
went
games.
back and did the math. In 2023-24 season, the NBA issued a total of 26 technical fouls for flopping. Guess how many they issued this year?
2.
1.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And
So they're saying that the flopping has decreased because they haven't called the fouls, or do they choose not to enforce it?
They're probably choosing not to enforce it because there's very clearly flops that are constantly happening, and it's not just in Oklahoma City's direction, but
It's creating a bad brand of basketball for allowing this to happen in the league. Foul baiting, flopping, whatever you want to call it. Adam Silver thinks it's different, but it's the same.
And yeah, there's obviously, I think, video evidence that people, at least that are fans of basketball, whether you want to call it a flop or you want to call it selling the foul, what have you, it's not the way basketball should be played. You look at the people who paved the way in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and that was a physical brand of basketball. But now that we're in this, what they call freedom of movement era, where there's a lot of floor spacing, there's a lot of pace, there is I will say, a lot faster collisions. So there are probably some exaggerated movements when the legitimate collisions happen, but I don't like the way that the game is heading. And hopefully tonight's game is called a lot closer than they called the games in Oklahoma City in terms of just keeping the foul baiting in check, because it was egregious, I felt like, in several ways. But then, I looked at it even more because I was paying attention to the discourse on yesterday's game, and I just hope that the officials call it even, because it did feel like as soon as the Spurs got any momentum in the second and third quarters, there were a few fouls or calls that went the Spurs against the Spurs, and the Thunder were able to capitalize on that momentum. So hopefully we don't talk about the officiating tonight. The officiating crews will be assigned probably by the end of this show, if not right after the show ends. So I'm not going to get into that discourse on Twitter. I don't really like talking about the officials before the game. I hope for the best, but we will see for sure what happens with the Spurs and the Thunder tonight. 7:30 tip-off on NBC/Peacock. The Oklahoma City Thunder lead the series 3-2. we'll definitely dive into that, so get some keys to the game. All the other previews. I want to talk about a few other things on the show as well today, but we will certainly be Spurs talk heavy, as it is the biggest game of the season, and every ensuing game will be the biggest game of the season for the Spurs, as I hope they still go for another couple weeks, but they obviously have to win tonight, got to win Saturday, and then that would be the finals if they were able to get the next 2 games in a row. The Corgi has been right. What's his name? Steph Curry? Steph Curry, the Air Corgi? Yeah, he has predicted the finals in both the Eastern and Western Conference finals accurately to this point in time. No reason to doubt the Corgi now. We'll talk about Spurs and more, but I do want to talk about how the government is getting involved in sports, how the NIL is taking away draft prospects from the NBA, and other miscellaneous news and notes around the world of sports that aren't Spurs and Thunder, but we certainly will talk more Spurs and Thunder here on the starting lineup on Ticket 760. Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wemby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving go for sale of Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go. Kids grow faster than paychecks and somehow need a whole new wardrobe every 6 months. Tidy little financial consultants with juice boxes. At Kid to Kid Hebner Road, you can buy and sell gently used kids' clothes, toys, baby gear, shoes, cleats, and even score pro and college fan gear for your future MVP. Kid to Kid buys size preemie through 20 youth and pay cash or 20% or more in store credit. Save money, clear the clutter, and shop sustainably. Located at Hebner and Northwest Military. Follow at Kid to Kid Hebner Road on Instagram. Kid to Kid Hebner Road. Buy, sell, save.
Got wrecked? Got a pain in your neck? Thomas J. Henry is your next call. Thomas J. Henry has put over $1 billion in our clients' pockets in just 4 years. And we can help you too. Just look at our over 14,000 5-star reviews. The numbers and our clients speak for themselves. So if you've been in a car accident, visit thomasjhenrylaw.com today. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. Principal office in San Antonio.
With iHeart, everything you hear is guaranteed human. That's why 78% of listeners trust their favorite radio host's product recommendations. If you manage a business or need to drive sales, that trust goes a long way. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. Again, that's iHeartAdvertising.com.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
I know what you want. A great experience when getting your new vehicle. Hassle-free and upfront pricing, and we promise that at World Car Hyundai. Right now, get 0% financing on 2026 Hyundai Tucson's and Santa Fe's. Plus, no payments for 90 days. We have low rates on Elantras and Palisades, too. Plus, every new vehicle comes with America's Best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and Hyundai Owner's Assurance. Shop online at World Car Hyundai North or WorldCarHyundaiSouth.com and experience the difference for yourself. World Car, for a lifetime.
With approved credit through HMF.
Hey guys, this is Jamie from Black Swan Yoga San Antonio, and we would like to invite you to join our Summer 75 Challenge. It's running from June 1st to August 31st. Commit to taking 75 classes this summer, and you'll be entered to win yoga for life. This is more than a challenge. It's all about building community. If you're new to the studio, jump in on our summer sale starting May 22nd. The first month is half off of our OG rate, making the first month $44. You can't beat that. We can't wait to flow with you and hope you you crush it on your challenge.
Hey, San Antonio sports fans, imagine your business scoring big with thousands of passionate listeners who are already fired up about local sports. Right now, you're one of thousands tuned in to Ticket 760. This is the raw power of live radio, immediate, loyal, and impossible to scroll past. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this engaged audience. Sponsors also get professional social media production included. Shoot us an email at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Hey guys, it's us, the Jonas Brothers. I'm Joe.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Nick. And guess what? We created our own podcast called Hey Jonas.
We invented a podcast?
Well, we didn't invent it. We just contributed to it.
We're the first people to do podcasts.
We get to ask other people questions because we're sick and tired of being asked questions.
Well, sick and tired is a strong way to put it, but you know.
Tired and sick.
Tired and sick.
Listen to Hey Jonas on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow Hey Jonas and start listening on the free iHeartRadio app today.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like 80s Rock Ride. 80s Rock Ride features Van Halen, Aerosmith, Billy Idol, Def Leppard, and more to jam out in the car.
I stay for a white wedding.
Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search 80s Rock Ride, and listen now. iHeartRadio. Free never sounded so good.
iHeartRadio. He bleeds silver and black. Back to Carl Schoening in the starting lineup.
Yes, sir. It is a big night for the Silver and Black tonight as the Spurs will host the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm your host, Carl Schoening. This is the starting lineup on Ticket 760. LG in the starting lineup with me today. You can get in touch with me on X and Instagram. I am at OnAirCarl. That is Carl with a K. On those platforms, you can get in touch with LG at DJLG210. And LG, how else can people get involved in the show?
Jump in the chat here on YouTube. We live stream this thing every morning on the YouTube channel at Starting Lineup Live. We're also live streaming on Twitch. If you're a Twitcher, be sure to tune in there. And if you want to listen to the show after the fact, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and everywhere else you like to get your podcast. JC the T-Man's up in the YouTube live chat right now. He says, good morning, gents. Good morning, JC the T-Man.
JC, thank you for tuning in and letting us know that you are listening. You know, the NCAA is an increasingly changing landscape of, I guess, athletics in general. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but LSU is trying to essentially sign all of the best EuroLeague players they can legally get away with. And it's going to look like just a European professional team at LSU full of men that are in their young mid-20s that have played professional basketball. And that'll eventually lead to, I suppose, the eventual forcing of the hand of the NCAA to finally establish rules. But at the moment, it's just the Wild West in the NCAA. I do want to do a little bit more research on the show and get you guys some more information on that. But the fact that big money is finally going to these players in this multi-billion-dollar industry of college athletics is a good thing. There's some ups and there's some downs. There is some leeway and then there's some not leeway. So just a few things around the NCAA to clean up. One of the stories that we've been keeping an eye on is Brendan Sorsby, who is the Cincinnati transfer to Texas Tech at the quarterback position in college football. He was caught up in gambling. He was somebody who was identified as making illegal bets. According to the NCAA, he's been dealt another blow to play for Texas Tech in 2026. This one comes from Sports Illustrated. The NCAA has denied that Sorsby's application for reinstatement, according to a Tuesday afternoon report from Pete Thamel of ESPN. Thamel noted that Sorsby has completed his 35-day inpatient rehab for gambling addiction at Algomius in Goodyear, Arizona, and it is one of the few live-in gambling addiction recovery centers in the country. But Sorsby, who's 22, said he'll seek additional treatment for gambling problems on April 27th, and the NCAA has been investigating him since that day. And I think that he also had an interesting thing that they almost got away with in Lubbock. The judge that was going to decide on whether or not he was going to be eligible was a Texas Tech alum and season ticket holder for college football games at Texas Tech in Lubbock. So he recused himself as that news started to get out that he was going to be making the ruling. So I imagine that's just a couple dominoes into effect, and we'll have to see if Brendan Sorsby plays. Tunde Yesufu, for those of you that remember him at Baylor, he is somebody who measured really well and went through all of the NBA draft prospect combines. And this is more of the good news of the way that college sports is going. Last night at midnight was today's Thursday. Tonight at midnight is the NBA draft deadline to withdraw. And some players are staying in, some players are staying out. Tunde Yesufu is somebody who measured well, played well at Baylor last year, was projected to be a first-round pick, apparently did not get a promise in the first round, and he is transferring to St. John's. So Rick Pitino, man, he knows how to maybe get a few things his way, but this is finally something where you could say that good for somebody like Tunde Yesufu, who was not going to be guaranteed any money in the NBA. He might have fallen to the second round and might have thus been under a, non-guaranteed 2-year, maybe $4 million contract. While at St. John's, I don't think that they ever publicly release what the NIL is, but St. John's is a high-level basketball program, and I would imagine he's getting more guaranteed money as the best player on a Rick Pitino coach St. John's team than he would get as a guy who maybe somehow slipped into the second round. He gets another year to boost his stock and try and solidify his first round spot. And I like that for the sport of basketball, where these fringe first rounders that were probably going to get drafted based off of their potential, their athleticism, maybe they would have fallen into the second round, can stay in college. They can develop a little bit better, and they can get paid, more importantly. Yaxel Lindenberg, who's going to be a top 10 pick in this year's draft, was at UAB, Alabama Birmingham, played in the American. You got a couple chances to see him here if you were a fan of UTSA. He didn't play against UTSA in San Antonio his last year at UAB, but Yaxel was the American Player of the Year, transferred to Michigan, has a great year at Michigan, was a big part of their run, and Yaxel improved his value despite being an older prospect to being I think he'll probably go top 10. We'll definitely talk a little more NBA draft as the draft approaches and the NBA playoffs wind down, but I do think that Tunde Yesufu committing to St. John's and withdrawing from the NBA is good for the sport of basketball overall, because more players staying in college, developing in college, getting paid in college is better than what was previously happening, where they were getting paid under the table and they didn't want to risk any of their eligibility being at risk. So they decide they're going to go ahead and jump straight to the NBA where they can get paid legally. I love it for college basketball that these guys are finally getting paid. But the new rules that the government is trying to put in place, and it is bipartisan, as I've heard some of the details, and I want to fine-tune how I want to approach it in an actual segment coming up later in the show. Sounds like we are going to have an introduction of a salary cap to college sports and also protect the Olympic sports, which is also good news. So there's so many good things coming out of college sports that I think it's finally going to be fixed. And all those years of us asking for the college players to finally get paid, they're starting to get paid. We're starting to see some of the Wild West aspects of it, but now it's finally coming back around to where these players are being empowered to improve their stock in ways other than just for professional sports. Although at this point, college basketball and college sports are professional sports. Very happy that we finally hit this, although there are some unintended consequences from the can of worms that did open up for it. We obviously love the NCAA here on the starting lineup. We should talk more college sports, but we came in the middle of baseball season and the NBA playoffs, so we'll definitely get to those as the show rolls on. But Spurs and Thunder tonight, we will talk a little bit of that. We'll talk about the players that are staying in the NBA draft as that deadline approaches midnight, and some other news from around the world of sports. But, of course, we will talk Spurs here on the starting lineup. I'll have a couple of news and nuggets to get you throughout the rest of the show here on the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
On May 28, 2005, the Spurs bested the Phoenix Suns 102-92 in Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals at the Frost Bank Center to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 series. Tim Duncan registered a double-double with 33 points on 9 of 17 shooting and 15 rebounds, while Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili each added 18 points. Brent Barry chipped in 11 off the bench while knocking down 3 3-pointers. That's today's Spurs Flashback. I'm Dan Weiss.
Spurs family, the lights drop, a deafening roar rushes over you. The silver screen awakens. Turn your life script into an epic movie with our 2025-26 ticket membership presented by RBFCU. Built-in flexibility, members-only events, fan shop discounts, and a guaranteed seat to pure cinema. Reserve your memories today. Text Spurs to 210-444-5940 or visit spurs.com/memberships for more info. Season presented by HEB.
Hi there, I'm John O'Hurley. You know our pets are beloved family members. But sadly, though, there are so many dogs that get euthanized every day due to the lack of funding. To give them a chance at adoption, I invite you to support Puppy Food Bank. Thanks to generous donors like you, all of the food sent to pet shelters from Puppy Food Bank never comes with a bill. So please go to puppyfoodbank.org and make a generous, caring $15 donation every month. Your donation will absolutely save pet lives.
Ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup? Let Mattress Firm's sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, ideal comfort. Score unbeatable deals on both. They make sleep easy.
For more information about contests on this station, go to ticket760.com/rules.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you, gradual breakers. You keep your eyes on the road, so you've seen it all. As long as it all happened directly in front of you, like a Swedish masseuse, your foot knows exactly the right amount of pressure to apply to the brake. That's why your passengers feel totally relaxed with you behind the wheel and occasionally super sleepy. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to Upside.com for terms and conditions.
$3,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for buying gas. Earn cash back with Upside just by filling up your tank. Download Upside now and start earning easy cash back. The more you use Upside, the more you get. Use promo code EXPERT to get an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code EXPERT for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in San Antonio without using your own money? You'll learn to flip houses and secure rental properties in your spare time to get on track towards real wealth building. We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in San Antonio for free. That's right, we'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FLIP to 64,000. San Antonio is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop this week right here in San Antonio and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FLIP to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FLIP to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FLIP to 64,000.
Strong coffee, stronger taste. Back to Carl Schoening in the starting lineup.
This is the starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm your host, Carl Schoening, LG in the starting lineup with me. And, you know, we don't talk enough college sports on this show. That's partly because there's a lot of drama in college sports, and there's a lot of, I guess, jumping around, and it's hard to keep up with where the players are and where the teams are. In fact, if you're a Texas State Bobcat fan, I imagine there's a good chunk of you that are tuned in that went to Texas State, much like LG and I did. You might not be 100% aware of who is going to be in the Pac-12 with Texas State next year, just because that's a conference that seemed to be dead and is getting revived. And even though it was a Power 5 conference, we're going to remain with the conversation that the Power 4 is still the Power 4, and then what was once the Group of 5 is now the Group of 6, with the Pac-12 sort of getting all of these Group of 5 teams to eventually rotate into their conference, and then, you know, the rest of the Group of 5, such as CUSA and the Sun Belt, sort of allow other teams to elevate up and down. One of the things that has been in the conversations of the NCAA is, will the SEC just secede? And there's been some conversation around it. This comes down from ESPN. Conversations around conference expansion have dominated college football spring meetings thus far. And Kirby Smart, the head coach of the University of Georgia, comments on Tuesday about the SEC essentially seceding have created plenty of questions. Georgia coach suggested that if the agreement can't be reached on expansion, spending in the NIL era and beyond, perhaps the SEC should go alone. And he said, quote, "I've said this for a long time to our president," Smart said on Tuesday. "I've been a huge advocate that if we can't find rules that everybody plays by, then we should play on our own. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to break away and say that our conference is strong enough to go out and play." And that's been a conversation that I think we've had going all the way back to when the BCS was around and the championship game was essentially selected by a computer. And should we just break away what at the time was BCS conferences, and now it's the Power 4 from the other divisions? And I don't really like that, because as someone who did go to Texas State, when those conversations were even happening back in 2010, 2015 range, when I was a student in college, there was a thought that essentially Texas State, who made the jump from the Southland and FCS, you know, Division I AA if you're old school, to an FBS being bowl eligible, would still like the idea of they technically could make a big-time championship game. Texas State's probably never going to be in the NCAA college football playoffs as the rules used to be, but now they have a little bit more of a chance. And if all of a sudden they spent all that time and effort to finally get to this, what is it right now, 12-team playoff, could eventually expand to something along the lines of like 24 teams, then yeah, Texas State has a chance to play an Alabama in the first round of the college football playoff. And once you get a chance on the gridiron to maybe come away with a win, especially in this NIL world, then there is a chance that, yeah, Texas State could upset the world and be on their way to a NCAA championship that way. However, if the SEC were to break off and maybe take a few teams with it, then Texas State would essentially be back in the FCS again. It would be the bowl-eligible teams that aren't the SEC and migrating to the new SEC would be falling off. And then you have to wonder if teams like Vanderbilt would really even have a place in this world of the new SEC being its own, or should they just form a super conference with teams that have a multi-million-dollar buy-in and they are dedicated to spending X amount of dollars? There is something that came down, and I want to read a little bit more about it because it's oddly enough not on a few websites that I usually frequent headline news, but I saw it all over social media yesterday, and I'm going to do a little bit more reading before talking about it in the 7 o'clock hour. But there is a bipartisan bill that is expected to be introduced in the coming days that has the White House's support on changing the way that the NCAA works And within the framework of the reporting of this bill, and remember, it's a bill, not a law. So those of you that are Schoolhouse Rock fans will know that essentially it has a long way to go before it makes its way through the Capitol Hill legislative process. But it is bipartisan, so you never know how easily it'll be pushed through as a distraction in this government. I don't talk about politics on this show, but that's because I know a lost cause when I see one. But this might actually be something that comes out of the government that is what we were kind of hoping for, and what the NCAA has been making an excuse of, that they aren't going to make rules because they just are lazy. I don't know why the NCAA doesn't want to make any of these rules. They open up the Wild West, and as I was saying earlier in the show, LSU is probably going to take advantage of it and just sign a whole bunch of European professional basketball players. But we see that across the board in a lot of college athletics right now, where I would imagine, if those of you that keep up with college baseball remember Ruger Riojas at UTSA, he becomes a star player, a pitcher at UTSA, and he enters the transfer portal. And I bet you, there's no way to know this, and this is maybe part of the issue, I bet you Ruger Riojas is making more money as a Longhorn than any 5 UTSA baseball players combined. And that's probably just how it is. You look at some of the reportings of how Memphis is spending $7 million on a 7-7 team in conference play for their basketball team. You look at how essentially there's going to be the haves and the have-nots. Texas Tech is all too happy to say, hey, come to Lubbock, we'll pay you a lot of money to be on our football team, our basketball team. And thus, Lubbock becomes the hotbed of, I guess, talent in the NCAA to accumulate. And on top of all of this, it really hurts the high school kids that are trying to work their way into the NCAA, because they're not going to be scouted by these schools that see that the transfer portal era will basically send out all these highly rated freshmen that don't get playing time. So they're going to want to transfer to a place that they get playing time. Thus, they're not really invested in. So whatever decisions do come down from the government, I hope that it helps the high school athletes, because there's a lot of good high school athletes that would usually be considered essentially developmental projects that might get some rotation minutes in their freshman year, and they would be maybe good sophomores, really good juniors, are now instead not getting recruited by these big-time schools. They have to prove themselves at the lower rankings. And, hey, great for, say UTSA when they got Smurf Millender, who was a sophomore that bounced out of Georgia Tech saying, hey, I want a better opportunity as a freshman, didn't like his opportunities in the Power Four, comes down to the American, just goes off in his time with UTSA, and then he transfers to Georgia. And, that makes me wonder if Georgia Tech is the right call. I can't remember. Smurf Millender then proceeds to make, I think, $1 million over the next 2 years with the University of Georgia, because he essentially worked his way down the ladder, then back up the ladder. Meanwhile, what happens to that McDonald's All-American that would probably have gotten that spot at Georgia, but instead they're looking at the more mature junior? So a lot happening in the world of NCAA athletics. I keep an eye on it, and maybe I'm a little ADHD about it if you haven't been able to notice, but there's so much that goes on. It's hard to pick and choose. But I do think, as I look into a little bit more of what the announced Protect College Sports Act, the bipartisan bill that is coming out, it seems like this Kirby Smart idea of the SEC seceding is going to be protected and not allowed to happen in this bill. So passing this bill before the SEC can make a move away from the rest of the NCAA is, I think, in the best interest of everybody. But I do like what Kirby Smart said. If we can't get on the same page with how we're going to manage these rules and it remains the Wild West, the SEC might just decide to make it even more of a Wild West and just step away from the rest of the West. And that will be a crazy day in college sports if the SEC announces they're going to secede, much like how Texas should probably secede from the American government, but I digress. We don't get into those kind of opinions on politics around here on the starting lineup. We will wrap up the first hour here with a little bit of Spurs talk, and then we'll take it into the top of the hour with a little more Spurs talk. San Antonio and Oklahoma City in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals tonight here in San Antonio. It is win or go home for the Spurs. We'll talk about some of the keys for the Spurs when we come back here on the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Kids grow faster than paychecks and somehow need a whole new wardrobe every 6 months. Tiny Little Financial Consultants with juice boxes. At Kid to Kid Huebner Road, you can buy and sell gently used kids' clothes, toys, baby gear, shoes, cleats, and even score pro and college fan gear for your future MVP. Kid to Kid buys size preemie through 20 youth and pay cash or 20% or more in-store credit. Save money, clear the clutter, and shop sustainably. Located at Huebner and Northwest Military. Follow at Kid to Kid Huebner Road on Instagram. Kid to Kid Huebner Road. Buy, sell, save.
It's time to warm up that scoreboard and get ready to bring home the win with Specs. Specs has you covered with lower prices on all your favorite fan fuel. From craft beer, rare spirits, and world-class wine to chips, dips, and gourmet finer foods. And with same-day delivery when you order online or through the app, Specs is your MVP for the biggest score of the game. At Specs, the fun starts here.
Here's to you, cheers to savings.
Need a reason to call Thomas J. Henry Law after a car accident? How about $1 billion? Because Thomas J. Henry Law fights even when the insurance company says your claim is worth nothing. Thomas J. Henry doesn't back down. That's how we put over $1 billion in our clients' pockets in just the last 4 years. And why we're one of the largest personal injury law firms in Texas. Car accident? Visit thomasjhenrylaw.com. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. Principal Office, San Antonio.
Almost 90 years ago, Academy Sports and Outdoors was born right here in Texas. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two. Like beans don't belong in chili. It's called a feeder road. And how far really means how long. We've been your neighbor for generations. That's why we're adding Texas-sized deals across the store, only in Texas. If you happen to find a better price at a competitor, we'll beat it by 5%. Academy. Fun can't lose.
Pantalones Organic Tequila. Because tequila is fun. Pantalones.
Did you know you can upgrade the quality of your water and your life with the Connecticut of San Antonio quality water softener? Did you know it's the most efficient water softener in the world, doesn't use electricity? Did you know if you go to ConnecticutSA.com right now, you can claim your free consultation, free water analysis, and lock in interest-free financing and a free reverse osmosis system with your purchase? Get quality water with Connecticut of San Antonio. Call 210-656-PURE or visit ConnecticutSA.com.
License number 38961.
iHeartRadio wants to send you to see Motley Crue on the Return of the Carnival of Sins tour in the city of your choice. We'll cover it all. Plus, you'll meet members of the band and score a signed guitar. Just tap the contest tab while listening on the free iHeartRadio app to enter. Get tour tickets now at LiveNation.com.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hey guys, this is Jamie from Black Swan Yoga San Antonio, and we would like to invite you to join our Summer 75 Challenge. It's running from June 1st to August 31st. Commit to taking 75 classes this summer, and you'll be entered to win yoga for life. This is more than a challenge. It's all about building community. If you're new to the studio, jump in on our summer sale starting May 22nd. The first month is half off of our OG rate, making the first month $44. You can't beat that. We can't wait to flow with you and hope you crush it on your challenge.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a lot of food in this country. A lot of peaches, a lot of corn, a lot of apples, a lot of everything. We've got so much food that we can't even eat it all. So if we got all this extra food, how are 17 million kids in America struggling with hunger? I just don't get it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to the hungry kids who need it. They can get you food even if you live in Idaho or Alaska or somewhere crazy like that. This isn't complicated. We got extra food and we've got hungry kids. Feeding America's done the math. Now it's your turn. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. I know you got internet on your phone, so what are you waiting for? We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Your home for Spurs talk. This is the starting lineup with Carl Schoening.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760. We will talk a little Spurs before the end of the hour, and then we'll talk more Spurs at the top of the hour, as we do love the Spurs, and we hope that we can continue to talk Spurs throughout the course of May and into early January. I'm your host, Carl Schoening. Along with me, LG in the starting lineup.
January would be fun.
Did I say January? I mean June. I also want to talk a little bit about the new show that I'm hooked on. I am running on a lot less sleep because all of a sudden last night I decided A, to do laundry, and B, use that laundry as an excuse to watch another episode of a show when I probably could have just let the laundry finish in the dryer and go to sleep. LG, you actually turned me on to this show. It's called Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed. Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good hooking thriller of a show on Apple's TV right now. So I might touch on that as a little miscellaneous segment at the end of the show. But LG, something that kind of caught my eye, and I wanted to ask your opinion about it because I wasn't going to bring it up, and it ended up being a bigger story than I thought. And it was something that I just kind of brushed over, but now seems to be something that is worth at least spending a few minutes on. Is it a big deal to you? And I'm talking about LG, the fan, and LG, the media member, that Victor Wembanyama did not talk after Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals to the media.
Meh.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with it. You know, it seems to me that there's a lot of media members that forget that we are, as media, the connection between the team to the fans. And now that is sort of, I guess, not as important of a relationship because the team has their own media. They will put out their own information to be connected to the fans. You have people like me and Dan Weiss who we don't necessarily need Wemby to talk to the media in order to create Spurs content. There's a lot of people that are getting on Wemby about, and they're mostly all media members. I don't think I've seen any fan say that, have much, I guess, to say about Wemby not talking to the media after Game 5. These are all media members that feel like, I guess, in a way, I understand that it is part of the job that you talk to the media, but they feel like they were snubbed themselves. Like they're sort of taking it personally. And as somebody, we run the post-game press conference all the time here. I don't care if Wemby felt like he needed to just dip out and he'll take the warning or the fine or what have you because he wants to just not deal with questions after Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. It's not that important to me.
I mean, Wemby won an award for how he deals with the media, and the guy deserves a chance to take a day off if he wants to. So
it was a big game, an emotional loss, and there were things within the game that I guess Wemby just didn't want to address. And it's okay to me. I get it if you are a writer, for example, who sort of relies on quotes and essentially, instead of talking about how you wanted to ask Wemby about his performance in Game 5, you just say he didn't even talk to the media. That's fine.
Well, hopefully he uses that time to get locked in for Game 6 and comes out with a stellar performance. But to be fair, and not to dog on the media, but I'd say 35 to 40% of the questions the media ask are absolutely pointless and stupid questions.
And as somebody who actually listens to all of the press conferences and cuts it up for us to be able to play on radio and make it sound good, I think you have about as much of a ability to say that than anybody.
That's true. And, and even sometimes media doesn't even ask questions. They just tell you to talk about something. talk about your performance tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? Ask a question, dude.
Yeah, and somebody who was pretty vehemently saying that it even affects Wemby as a team leader was Jeff McDonald of the San Antonio Express News, and he got a lot of pushback from fans. And this is what I'm getting at here, at least in this connection here. As media members, we do need to remember, I get that, we want to hear from the players. It's sort of part of what we need to thrive, to continue to do our phony baloney jobs over here. But it is not that big of a deal to me, and it's not that big of a deal to fans that Wemby skipped out on the press conference. And it seems to me the people that are making it the biggest deal are the media members who feel like it is essentially a courtesy that they're owed that Wemby speaks to the media. But as media members who don't need to write quotes for articles and such, I would obviously have run Wemby's post-game press conference on this show, but I don't mind that he decided, I want to skip out. But to your point, I think that Wemby is, we've talked about this a few times on Spurs Radio Game Night and probably on this show as well. An upset Victor Wembanyama is a better basketball player. And if he was so upset that he didn't even want to talk to the media afterwards, and maybe he would have said something that he regretted, maybe he didn't want to show his emotions, whatever they might be, and you just wanted to move on from Oklahoma City and say, I'll be back, talk about it in Game 7, what have you, then I think that that's fine. And he's going to face questions about it now. Probably somebody's going to ask, why didn't you want to talk to us after Game 5? And I'm sure Wemby will have a very eloquent response. But I think that, like you were saying, it's showing that he's going to just lock in to Game 6 tonight, not worry about anything the media says about him not talking to the media, and be ready to have a big performance that extends the Spurs season into a Game 7 of these Western Conference Finals. And then afterwards, he'll probably be asked about it, but he'll be talking to the media after the game tonight, I imagine.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with his leadership. Tim Duncan skipped many a media post-game press conferences. So
yeah,
did that affect his leadership? No, absolutely not.
And that's what I was getting at. And this isn't anything on Jeff McDonald or anybody on the Express News, because they do a good job. And I think that they inflate the importance of what they bring to the table, and part of what they bring to the table is needing to report on what players say after the game. So I understand why they were a little frustrated or upset, but I have no problem with it. And to actually say that it affects him as a leader, let me tell you, in terms of what the team thinks and needs from a leader, speaking to the media is pretty low on the totem pole. Being ready to go out and be energized and fired up for Game 6, that's much higher on the totem pole. Not one Spurs player or coach, I imagine, had an issue with it, and I am ready to see what Victor Wembanyama does tonight. We're up against it here at the end of the first hour, but we will come back and talk a little more X's and O's. Game 6 tonight in San Antonio. This is the starting lineup on Ticket 760. We will be talking some NBA Western Conference Finals win-or-go-home game for the Spurs tonight.
This is the month to get a Kia from World Car Kia, and if you have a trade-in, we'd like to buy it, no matter the condition or what you owe.
Get 0% financing on new 2026 Kia Sportages and 0% on Sorrentos too. Get 2,000 customer cash on 2025 Tellurides. Get savings on new Kias all this month.
And at World Car Kia, every new vehicle comes with a lifetime warranty and lifetime roadside assistance. Visit our new store at Kia South or any of our stores in San Antonio or New Braunfels and save. Kia. World Car Kia.
With approved credit through KMF.
This year, North America will be the center of the soccer universe, hosting the biggest sporting event in the world, 48 nations and 104 matches, as every player puts it on the line for their country. And BetOnline has you covered with live lines and player props from sportsbook, casino, the whole tournament. Enjoy the freedom of online gaming at BetOnline, where the action moves with you and every moment is yours. Make 26 your year. Bet on at BetOnline.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing a lawyer, but getting some guy who just watches courtroom dramas.
Guilty. Erroneous. Sustained.
Are you just saying random words?
Don't settle for just any insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This Saturday night, 7 o'clock, your San Antonio Toros hit the road in a huge conference showdown against their rivals from Austin, the Texas Syndicate, at P Field in Pflugerville. Wear your Toros gear and join the Stampede live in Pflugerville. Or catch every play live on United Football Media YouTube page. Get tickets now at TexasSyndicateGroup.com. Saturday night, 7 o'clock, your San Antonio Toros and the Texas Syndicate. Vamos Toros!
There's another one and another one.
Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wemby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving Govasell the Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 original stations waiting for you to explore right now, like Coffee Shop Radio,
It's true, my bad habits lead to you.
acoustic rock, and the greatest singer-songwriters of the 90s to now.
All night, come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
And Coffee Shop Radio goes commercial-free every weekend.
We're going down, down, in and around.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search Coffee Shop Radio, and listen now.
iHeartRadio.
Free never sounded so good.
This is Ticket 760, KTKR San Antonio, your home for sports. Guaranteed human. Make us the #1 preset in your car and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. This is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Carl Schoening.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the starting lineup. I'm Carl Schoening, starting at your host and the voice coming through your speakers. LG is starting at the audio technician and video technician as we're sounding good over the radio airwaves and looking good over YouTube thanks to LG. The NCAA is going to have the government get involved. I have a new show that I'm streaming, but we are in San Antonio, Texas, and we have to talk Spurs here. At the top of the hour, the Spurs have their biggest game of the season, Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Win or go home. First time this young team is facing elimination. LG, I don't think I need much more caffeine, but Hour 2, I'm going to go ahead and crack open my energy drink. Let's take it. I'm going to need it tonight, because I want to extend all of the energy that I can, even though I have to be professional and be on air for Spurs Radio game night tonight. I want all the energy, all the good vibes. I'm going to be wearing my friendship bracelets that the Jackals gave me. I'm going to stop by and, give the Jackals a good hug, because multiple times this season, I think it's been twice. I think it was Game 4 here against Oklahoma City and Game 5 against the Timberwolves. There's been a little inkling in my head that this could be the last time that we have a game this season at the Frost Bank Center. And I immediately dismiss that thought. And I'm going to dismiss it again tonight, because I think, yes, while technically this could be the last game at the Frost Bank Center, this Spurs team just gives me a reason to believe in them. They keep hitting every obstacle and then hurling it. So tonight, they face their biggest one, and I need to double-check the injury report. I imagine it's the same, but no J-Dub is going to be my guess. I think that J-Dub will continue to be questionable and then be scratched at game time throughout the course of the series, whether it goes one or two more. If he tries to play Game 7, that wouldn't be surprising, but I don't necessarily think he should. I don't think that he's going to play Game 6, and then A.J. Mitchell, I'm pretty sure they've already listed him as out indefinitely, probably until maybe midway through the finals if he comes back at all this season with that soleus strain. Soleus is a calf muscle, which is very important in basketball to help explode. But J-Dub out with the hamstring as well. I think there's this weird feeling that I get with OKC where the Game 3, they come into San Antonio and they win. They reclaim home court advantage. And then Game 4, they don't really show up. And then Game 5, they win with the game that they're supposed to. And I sort of feel like they are going to say, hey, if we jump out to a lead tonight and we have some momentum, great. But it sort of feels like Oklahoma City, when they don't need to win a game, they don't really feel like it's a big deal if they don't win the game. They are very much a gamer in that sense. And I'm sure the NBA would love a 7-game series in the Western Conference Finals after the Eastern Conference Finals was a sweep. I just sort of feel like tonight the Spurs show out. They know that this is their game they have to win. It's obviously an elimination game, but it's the last game of the series in San Antonio, and I think the Spurs would like to have a repeat of Game 4 where they put it away so early that they get to rest some of their players in the fourth quarter. So some things I expect to see a repeat of from that Game 4, and we saw a little bit in Game 5, is I imagine Wemby's going to probably play the majority of the first quarter. He's probably not going to be subbed out for Luke Cornett around the 7-minute mark. That was a change that the Spurs made after Game 3 of this series, where Wemby's just sort of getting extended minutes in that first half. He played 19 of the 24 minutes in Game 5. I do think that Wemby gets involved many ways. You're going to have to foul Wemby a lot to, if you're Oklahoma City, and just deal with him getting a healthy dose. You looked at, if I don't remember exactly, but it felt like almost every other Spur put up a shot before Victor put up a shot in Game 5. And I think that changes tonight. I think Wemby very much asserts himself, forces Oklahoma City to adjust to his will of how he wants to come out and play tonight. And then the Thunder will have to adjust to that again in Game 7 and probably be allowed to be a bit more physical in Oklahoma City than they are going to be tonight. But I think tonight that Wemby probably gets to the free throw line a good chunk of times. Hopefully he's playing 15 feet and in. And I've said it throughout the course of the season. I've said it definitely throughout this playoff run. Wemby can shoot threes. I think that makes him a dangerous player, that he has the ability to do that. But I think he is most dangerous when he takes advantage of his physical gifts, playing 15 feet and in, able to finish above the rim, get shots off of the backboard, and essentially to himself occasionally. I don't think I like it as his default. And this is it. This is the last chance to use up the gas in the tank. And I don't think that anybody is 100%. We talk about the injuries with Oklahoma City. The Spurs definitely look like they're playing through some injuries. We know De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper would probably be resting if this were the regular season. Luke Cornett is, I think, dealing with an ankle, but it's not going to keep him out from playing. He's not going to be on the injury report. Spurs don't have any injuries to report on their injury report. And the big thing is, I think that the Spurs just get as much of a healthy dose of Victor Wembanyama as they can, because this is the last chance for him to have a really big game in the playoffs. And I think he does have that big game in the playoffs, and the Spurs come away with a Game 6 victory, and this one goes 7. And I hate to say this phrase because it's so cliche, but anything can happen in a Game 7. And that means even the Spurs knocking off the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Hopefully tomorrow is a preview of Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals on this show, but tonight the Spurs have to handle business. Some encouraging things that happened in Game 5 that I hope carry over into Game 6. Julian Champagnie finding his rhythm. That would be really nice if the Spurs are able to keep JC going, especially from distance, but Champagnie even mixed it up a little bit by getting inside occasionally. And really, that's about it. There weren't too many great things that the Spurs did in that Game 5. And while the discourse was around the officiating a lot, and I do think that the officials stopped a lot of Spurs momentum in Game 3, in Quarter 3 and Quarter 2, when the Spurs were trying to make some runs to get back in it. It was not the officials that cost the Spurs Game 5. And whatever adjustments needed to be made, that would be great if the Spurs made it. But this is where having at least 2 days off at some point in the series would have been nice, but it's every other day, and the Spurs are just going to have to recover how they can. So hopefully yesterday was a good day of rest for the Spurs. Hopefully today is very light until the game. There is a shoot around. There will be some media availability that comes out early afternoon, but the Spurs are going to have to just dig deep and come away with a victory tonight. they want to extend their season. And I don't see any reason why not. This has been a team that has risen to every occasion so far. I think that they're going to ride off of the energy of the Frost Bank Center. The Frost Bank Center is going to be bouncing tonight in the Thursday night success for the Spurs, hopefully, is going to lead to a Game 7. And then they would host Game 1 of the NBA Finals if the Spurs are able to win the next two. And I keep saying it because I feel like we need all the positive vibes we can. But Air Corgi has been right. Steph Curry does this thing, if you've ever seen him on Instagram, where his owners toss him a ball and there's a couple of trash cans where it shows the Spurs on one trash can and the Thunder on the other, and the ball bounces in, and that's his prediction for the game. Spurs in 7, and it has been, this Corgi has predicted the entire conference finals correctly. So I keep that positive energy going. LG, I might have to adopt a Corgi if this ends up happening.
Sure, why not? They're cute dogs.
I'll leave the Corgi at your place, though. You and Ellie can have a new friend. And
I don't know
I'll
how
just come
she'd
visit.
feel about that, but, since you're a cat guy, the Corgi might not get along with your kitty cat.
Yeah. My cat seems to be pretty chill. She's definitely saved me from missing the show once at least, maybe twice.
Well, all right.
Yeah,
there you go.
So I don't know what a Corgi would be like, but a Corgi would need to be let out to go to the restroom, and I need to deal with all
That's
that.
true.
So,
But they also don't take your breath away and steal your soul in the middle of the night like cats do. But
No. Cats protect your soul.
Oh, is that what they do?
They work on the astral plane and they protect you while you sleep and all of that stuff.
Well, regardless, Steph Curry did pick the Spurs in 7, and hopefully, I hate to talk about the officiating, but the NBA has made that the headline, not the fact that two great teams in the West are playing a battle in the Western Conference Finals. The NBA has created the narrative because of the officiating, and I can't think of any time in my entire life where the headlines are the officials over what the actual teams are doing on the court, besides this series that is happening right now.
It has been frustrating for sure. As a fan of basketball, I really do not like the way that the Thunder try to sell fouls and manipulate the officials and I guess bend the rules. And I just hope that at least once tonight they call a flop. They legitimately award the Spurs a technical foul free throw because they call it on somebody. I don't care who it is.
That's really all you have to do. I mean, Adam Silver had to go on the Pat McAfee show to defend this and to say, AI is coming soon to help, alleviate some of the pressure from the referees, like these out-of-bounds calls. We're going to have something like the Hawkeye system in tennis that can help call these calls. Well, that's still not going to help with the flopping.
Yeah.
That's going to help with the missed calls that are obvious, like last game, when they missed some of the out-of-bounds plays and they missed the goaltending. That might help with that, but that's still not going to help with the foul baiting and the flopping.
And really, people want to say Joel Embiid flops a little bit. I think it's very similar to what's going on with Wemby, where you talk about these big guys, the bigger guys than usual, whether it's Shaq, Wemby, Wilt, Tim Duncan. They are allowed, especially in the playoffs, to be defended much more physically than any other player. Star players get defended more physically than most other players in the playoffs. And I thought Steph Castle said it very well after the game in Game 5 that they are a physical defensive team, and I don't want to discredit the Thunder in that regard at all. They are a good defensive team, and that needs to be said because there's plenty of other things that overshadow how good they are as a team and very disciplined defensively. But and they're also very disciplined offensively. But the thing that I think is most frustrating, and Steph said it so eloquently where he was not going to get fined, was they play physical on the defensive end, and the Spurs aren't given the luxury to play as physical at times. And that seems to be very obvious. And I just hope that the officials don't fall for these falls. And it's gotten to a point where even Tom Haberstroh, who is somebody who is an analytics guy, is on the Portland Trailblazers broadcasts, and I think he works for Yahoo on the side as well. He tracked all of the times that SGA flopped, and he flops twice he falls, I should say, not flops, but he falls. And this is not him saying that he's flopping. This is him saying that he's hit the hardwood 25% of the time. It is literally...
And these are on shots.
Yeah, it's literally, twice as many times as any other player in terms of percentage.
Yeah.
So...
that's on shots. That's not including the times he actually flops, like you just said. He sets up his body to prepare for the contact to get and gets ready to flop as soon as a player initiates any kind of contact, whether it's enough to knock him down or not. He's going down to the ground. And if he put that into the percentages, it would be a lot higher than what he came up with.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, and I believe I said this in the first hour, but it feels almost like the officials should treat this as the boy who cried wolf. They gave him all of those benefits of saying, hey, there's a wolf, I was fouled, right? And now eventually we see through our replays that they are creating this wolf in their head, and it is being relayed through the flopping, and then they eventually maybe will actually get fouled, and hopefully the officials say, hey, you fooled us way too many times for us to believe you. So now when Game 6 and 7 come down to the Spurs needing to stave off elimination, the officials don't buy it. I will say this. I think that the officials... I will say this. I feel like the officials have done a good job not allowing as much foul baiting as the Thunder sort of try. In fact, if we go all the way back to Game 1 of this series, when Wemby hit that big three to tie it up at 108 in overtime of Game 1, the first overtime, Chet Holmgren crashed the board. He was boxed out legally by Julian Champagnie, and he tried to sell a foul. Like, he ran right into Champagnie, and then he bounced right off of him and yelled, and Julian got the rebound. The officials didn't call the foul, and Wemby proceeded to take advantage of the 5-on-4 and hit that three from 30-something feet out and tie it up at 108 because Chet was not given the benefit of, I guess, calling wolf. And I very much appreciate that style of officiating. Hopefully, that is the style of officiating we get tonight. Game 1, Game 4, perfect officiating. No real notes from those two games. Games 2, 3, and 5, definitely some notes for the officials. So hopefully, we get more of the Goldilocks just right. Games 1 and 4 officials tonight, and the Spurs can extend this series to 7, and that's all we'll probably talk about on Friday as we roll on here on the starting lineup. Maybe we shift a little gear here to some streaming. I want to know what you're streaming, so get into the comments and let us know on the YouTube feed what you're streaming. I do want to probably touch on the Spurs a little bit more throughout the hour, and the NCAA and the government are going to have to deal with each other as Texas legislature, Ted Cruz, decides that he's going to get involved, but it's bipartisan. So should mention that it seems like the government is going to finally do what the NCAA should have done years ago and police the NCAA athletics. And I think everyone's going to like what they've come up with. As I've done a little bit more research on that, I will share what I've found and what might happen in the world of sports for college athletics when we come back on the starting lineup.
Kids grow faster than paychecks and somehow need a whole new wardrobe every 6 months. Tiny little financial consultants with juice boxes. At Kid to Kid Hebner Road, you can buy and sell gently used kids' clothes, toys, baby gear, shoes, cleats, and even score pro and college fan gear for your future MVP. Kid to Kid buys size preemie through 20 youth and pay cash or 20% or more in-store credit. Save money, clear the clutter, and shop sustainably. Located at Hebner and Northwest Military. Follow at Kid to Kid Hebner Road on Instagram. Kid to Kid Hebner Road. Buy, sell, save.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hunting, fishing, real country music. Vegans? Cable Smith reminding you to get your butt by the dial Saturday mornings from 7 to 8. It's the Lone Star Outdoor Show right here on Ticket 760.
What does it mean to work with one of the largest personal injury law firms in Texas? At Thomas J. Henry, it means we can put our team of experts to work for you. Visit thomasjhenrylaw.com. The name you know, the firm you trust. Principal office, San Antonio.
Have you purchased your Connecticut quality water softener yet? If not, what are you waiting for? You need to take advantage of this great offer right now. Interest-free financing for 12 months and a free reverse osmosis system. So you don't have to pay any interest for a year, and you get great tasting water right there at your kitchen sink. Have you ever opened up the dishwasher and seen a lot of spots and looking like your dishes aren't that clean? That is hard water. Same can go for your clothes when they come out of the washing machine. Same can come for yourself when you get out of the shower. And the money that you spend on a Connecticut quality water softener, you're likely going to save because you're not going to have repair bills trying to fix or replace your appliances, and you're not going to have to call a plumber all the time because of all that bad water going through your pipes. It's an amazing offer. Interest-free financing for 12 months, a free reverse osmosis system. When you purchase a Connecticut quality water softener, it's the best and last water softener you're ever going to own. Call them today at 656-PURE, 656-7873. Love your water. Get a Connecticut quality water softener, ConnecticutUSA.com.
With iHeart, everything you hear is guaranteed human. That's why 78% of listeners trust their favorite radio host's product recommendations. If you manage a business or need to drive sales, that trust goes a long way. Call 844-844-iHeart. Again, that's 844-844-iHeart.
Stop dreaming and start fishing. Memorial Weekend to Labor Day. Fish all summer with the CCA Star Tournament. Reel in one of over $2 million in prizes and scholarships. Catch a tagged redfish to win a Ford F-150 truck and boat package. 10 divisions in all. Real people win real prizes. Sponsored by Texas Ford Dealers, Academy Sports and Outdoors, and Progressive Insurance, Transport, Dargle Boats, and Lone Star Beer. Sign up at startournament.org. Sign up now.
Hey guys, it's us, the Jonas Brothers. I'm Joe.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Nick. And guess what? We created our own podcast called Hey Jonas.
We invented a podcast?
Well, we didn't invent it. We just contributed to it.
We're the first
people to do podcasts.
We get to ask other people questions because we're sick and tired of being asked questions.
Well, sick and tired is a strong way to put it, but you know.
Tired and sick.
Tired and sick.
Listen to Hey Jonas on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow Hey Jonas and start listening on the free iHeartRadio app today.
You guys just didn't want it bad enough. That should have been an easy win. What were you doing out there? You gotta hustle. You could have made that play if you'd been open.
On the car ride home after the game, when you think you're helping by telling me what I did wrong and what I need to work on, all I hear is that I'm not good enough, that I'm supposed to be perfect, that it's not okay to lose. On the car ride home, all I need to hear is how much you love me and enjoy watching me play. That my worth isn't determined by my performance. That even on my worst day, I am worthy. That you see me learning, growing, and doing my best. And that is enough.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Washington Secondary School Athletic Administrators Association.
No B team here. This is the starting lineup with Carl Schoening.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760 rolls on this Game 6 Thursday. Western Conference Finals tonight. Spurs and Thunder. Spurs trying to stave off elimination. I'm your host, Carl Schoening. You can get in touch with me on X and Instagram at OnAirCarl. Let me go ahead and check X real quick. I want to see if anybody has reached out to me. I don't see anybody that wants to reach out to me. I know everybody's busy on their morning routines, but you can also get in touch with us on the YouTube chat. You can get in touch with my producer to give any feedback on how we're sounding or looking on the YouTube feed or going out over the airwaves. At DJLG210 on the social medias. LG, how else can people get involved with the show?
Jump into the YouTube live chat right now. We are streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, so you can jump into the chat on either of those platforms at Starting Lineup Live on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. TSL760 on the Twitterverse if you want to jump in there and hit us up on X. And then you can jump into the Buy Me a Coffee as well. We do have a tip system set up through the miracle that is buymeacoffee.com/thestartinglineup. And you can also leave a comment there. We will read all those comments with priority, since that's kind of like our super chat. And go ahead and subscribe to this thing too if you're listening on the YouTube page. We are aiming for a goal of 500 subscribers. As soon as we get there, I may just give away some Spurs t-shirts.
Oh, yeah, we should definitely start to, incentivize people for following us on the socials. And I think that's the best way to actually get social media followers.
Yeah,
is
people
to
like
give
free
away
things.
stuff. Yeah. You like and retweet and follow and all that stuff, and it'll learn you in drawing kind of thing. We should definitely do that to try and promote our socials a little bit more. I did want to ask, and I suppose nobody jumped in, and I understand everybody's probably in their car and they don't want to text and drive, or they're just getting going on their work day, and we're sort of the noise that helps them get through their morning routines. But I need to brag a little bit about Apple TV. I feel like it was one of those platforms that when it started, it was not really giving the value that you would want. They had Ted Lasso, which was a hit, and I felt like if you wanted to binge Ted Lasso, it was a hit. Whether or not you liked it,
it was a hit, but it jumped the shark after season 3. So
well, they only. I appreciate not letting series get old. I thought that this third season, they definitely did a few creative things just to sort of say, oh, this will be the end of it. We're putting on hiatus. But I've watched through that series maybe 3 times. I like Ted Lasso a lot. It was a good, amusing show to me. But some of the stuff that they're putting out lately has been great. I haven't even looked at some of the stuff that they have as their higher rated shows. But some of the shows that I have dedicated a little bit of time to have been, I think, pretty solid. There's one that I didn't there have been a couple timepieces, if you will, like timely, very much this is how 2026 is. So if we maybe in the year 2040 go back and watch some of these shows, it's like, oh yeah, that's what the world was like 15 years ago. One of them is a bit more of a chick show. Margot's Got Money Problems, but I've heard good reviews on that. I gave it a shot, and it very much felt like it was a show for the people who I guess are a bit more into the chick shows, and some of
definitely wasn't for me.
Yeah, so. But I will say that Your Neighbors and Friends, I am enjoying that.
Your Friends and Neighbors.
Your Friends and Neighbors.
I feel like that show has jumped the shark. In fact, even in the fan forums on Reddit, there's a big conspiracy theory going on that season 2 is entirely written by AI because of all the plot holes and so many subplots that are going nowhere with that show. So I feel like that show has also jumped the shark.
I will have to hear out other people. I find that there are good shows that the mystery is impossible to predict. You need to, and you'll be surprised when they finally reveal it, and maybe you can piece together some things. But I will listen to other people who maybe notice things that I did not. I have enjoyed Your Friends and Neighbors to this point, but you told me about a show, and I saw it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it based off the teaser, and it immediately gripped me after one episode to where I watched 2 more last night after, I think, watching the first episode sometime, earlier in the evening yesterday. No Eastern Conference Finals gave me a lot more free time to do stuff like watch a show and do some laundry. Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I think that show is
so far it's good.
Very well done in the sense that I feel something based off the cinematography. They know how to incorporate audio, and they know how to incorporate interesting camera shots, such as close-ups, that give you sort of an unsettling feeling.
Really?
And it's nothing horror-wise.
I didn't notice any of that. I just noticed the story was good.
The story's good, but I feel like the storytelling through the visuals and the audio have really gripped me.
That's something I noticed right away on shows, and that's one show I did not notice a single one of those elements. But
yeah, I've felt that it's very well done, and it's another one of those pieces where just essentially to give you a beginner on it, and it's not anywhere near the full show through 3 episodes, but the main character is, I guess, lonely and gets involved with someone who will, I guess, to put it lightly over radio airwaves, be paid for their time.
Yeah, and gets taken advantage of.
Yeah,
basically.
and it's a really solid show through 3 episodes. And then you also like Widow's Bay. Is that
Widow's
what it's
Bay is the #1 show right now for me on all of Apple TV's platform. It is great. It is created by a former writer from Parks and Rec, so it is a comedy horror, I would say. And it's fantastic. The last 2 episodes they just released were amazing. Every single episode that has been released has been fantastic. And I think it's risen to #1 on Apple TV's list of new series.
Interesting. Yeah, I will have to keep an eye out for that as well.
They have a ton of other shows. I mean, Apple TV has released some great shows. Mystic Quest was great when it first, came out. That was one of their original shows.
Yeah.
Silo is fantastic. New season coming out in July. So they have a ton of shows. I've tried to reel through. I'm in a bit of a sobriety stage right now. I quit drinking. May 2nd or 3rd was the last time I had a alcoholic beverage. So I've been trying to not be at the bars as much. So I've been watching a lot of shows, and I've gone through almost Apple TV's entire catalog, watching at least 1 episode of every show they've ever made. And yeah, Widow's Bay is probably the best show they've done in all of them so far.
Yeah, I will take your word for it. You consume a fair amount of content, and I am somebody who I like to be responsible about my subscriptions. So I'm currently only on I think I have 1 month left of a 6 months that I bought for $10 for HBO. During the I guess holiday season, they had a special that I thought, okay, I'll take advantage of this. I don't really watch HBO all that much. I won't be renewing.
I'm watching HBO right now, and there's a good show on there by Steve Carell called Rooster.
Oh yeah. I've seen the previews for that.
It's a pretty good show. So I just watched the entire first season of that. I think there's 10 episodes. They're only 30-minute episodes. I think 40-minute episodes maybe. But it's pretty good. It's basic, it's comedy. It's good.
I used to have, in part because of a bundle with ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and I stopped that when I stopped calling games routinely on ESPN Plus, and now I just have ESPN Plus instead of, it was the Disney and Hulu bundle. And I thought about maybe a month ago getting back into Disney Plus because the new Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is out right now. And I've seen most of those episodes, but I have not actually... I enjoyed the series just fine when I was watching it. I don't necessarily know if it deserved a movie, and I don't know what the reviews are.
I don't know if Grogu deserves to be a main character on anything, so...
it was so funny that essentially Grogu, they didn't reveal his name as a character. It was just known as the child, but everyone just started calling him Baby Yoda, and it became a little bit of a viral sensation. Yeah, it was, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I feel like they lost a lot of people with the movies. And talk about plot holes. That was the new trilogy that came out. I guess we're actually pushing about a decade since it came out, is getting such little respect and love on Disney Plus that Disney is actually considering eliminating it from canon. And
they already eliminated every single Star Wars book from canon when they bought the franchise from Lucas, which was stupid to do in the first place.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what they end up doing with Star Wars. But
that's what they tend to do. They'll make a movie and they're like, they did it with Marvel. They're like, never mind, that movie doesn't exist. We're going to reinvent it. Oh, he never died. He's alive. Or let's recast this guy.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was... one of the Wolverine movies, they decided to just not make canon anymore. It was like Wolverine Origins, which is one of those kind of like, oh, hey, you just wasted a Hugh Jackman film if it's not going to be part of canon. But, that's the funny thing about, I guess, just content in general. It gets created, and we're going to eventually just live in an AI-generated world where no one's watching any of the same stuff because it's all made to appeal to the individual that AI creates.
I hope I'm dead and gone by the time that happens.
Oh, I'm sorry to lay these negative vibes on you, LG, but I hope you're around because that's going to be next year, maybe 2 years from now.
Oh, no, it won't.
Oh, it's coming in hotter than we want it to. That is for certain.
AI music is garbage.
Oh, and it's only getting better. But
it's getting worse.
I digress. Well, maybe. I don't know. I haven't actually listened to AI music, but it's a worthy conversation to have about that eventually down the road with people who are much more educated on it. But we hit our break here, and I did want to just touch on some of the things that we're streaming because we do talk things other than sports, and I feel like that's very relatable. So if you are looking for a couple new shows, I guess you have our reviews of a few things that we're into. Let's talk a little bit more NCAA and a little bit more Spurs here. Final 2 segments of the starting lineup coming up here in hour 2 of the show on Ticket 760.
This is San Antonio FC Insider, brought to you by Goodwill.
San Antonio FC has quickly become known for their shutdown defense, ranking first in the USL Championship with 5 clean sheets and conceding the 3rd fewest goals in the league. Goalkeeper Joey Perchuni currently has the 5th highest save percentage at 76.5% and the 2nd most saves at 25. Defender Mitch Tainer leads the back line with 43 clearances and 47 duels won, while center back Alex Cronali has made the USL Team of the Week 3 times this season for his brilliant defense. That's today's SAFC Insider. I'm Katie Goodman.
When you donate or shop at Goodwill, your books open up opportunities. Your boots get someone's foot in the door. Your donated goods mean professional career training right here in our community. Good job, everyone.
Right now, you're one of thousands tuned into this station. Locked in, fired up, and ready to talk Spurs, Cowboys, and everything in between. That's the unbeatable power of live radio. It reaches you instantly, and you can't scroll past it. Plus, we're streaming and growing on social media. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this passionate audience. And when you join us, you get professional social media production included. Content created for your business. Shoot us an email right now at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Summer is on its way, and it's going to be super hot again. You can count on that. If your air conditioning system isn't up to par, or if you need a new one, it's time to call Manuel & Sons. At Manuel & Sons, right now, you can get a 1.5 to 5-ton Frederick 15-seater for just $77.95. Need a spring tune-up? Right now, only $89. Certified technicians, local company, someone actually answers the phone. If your system is struggling, call today, 549-4839, 549-4839, ManuelandSons.com.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Lighting has a bigger impact on your home than you might think. I'm George Salinas with Absolute Power Electrical Contractors. From sleek recessed lighting to modern LED upgrades, we transform your home's interior into something brighter, safer, and more energy efficient. We install lighting that fits how you live today. Call 210-904-1521 or visit absolute-pwr.com to schedule your free estimate. Absolute Power Electrical Contractors, at your service.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
Your ticket for the best Spurs talk. Back to the starting lineup.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm your host, Carl Schoening, and I do love talking some Spurs. I am not ready for this season to end tonight, and I don't think San Antonio is either. Game 6, Western Conference Finals, Spurs and Thunder. Thunder lead it 3-2, and we'll look to close out the Spurs tonight, but I think San Antonio will live to die another day and force a Game 7. That'll be Saturday night in Oklahoma City if necessary. And the Spurs are probably going to force that Game 6 if I had a guess. They have overcome every hurdle thrown at them. Anytime their back's been up against the wall, they've responded. And I get the feeling tonight will be no different. It will be a big night for the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama was so frustrated after Game 5 that he didn't speak to the media. And while I know media members are going to spin that as something against Wemby, what have you, I'm going to make it a positive. I think Wemby cares so much about the game that he didn't want to talk to the media, maybe say something that he was going to regret, or didn't want to expend any more energy to a sea of people and questions that he was just going to want to gloss over. So he takes the warning and doesn't talk to the media, and I feel like that energy is going to be channeled. We've heard several players say it throughout the course of the season. Upset Victor is a very dangerous Victor, and Victor Wembanyama will look to be dangerous tonight to even up this series at 3. And the Spurs, for the first time this postseason, face elimination, and I think the only right way for this to go is for the Spurs to then play their first Game 7 as a unit. And win or lose that Game 7, it has been quite the playoff run for the Spurs, quite the step in the right direction, and I don't think anybody is ready for that to end. But the Spurs do need to find their shooting rhythm tonight. They have been up and down, partly because of the OKC defense in terms of knocking down the 3-ball from distance, so San Antonio hopefully will find that rhythm. Julian Champagnie really went off in Game 5. A shame that game didn't end up in favor of the Spurs, because we were waiting for Julian to have one of those nights all series long, and I think that he's going to continue that momentum. He finds a little bit of a rhythm. Comes down to, can the Spurs overcome the injuries that they're playing through? I know that they're not going to use any excuses, but it's very obvious these guys have been running and jumping on hardwood for 9 months now, since the start of October. And if you listen to the reports from way back at the beginning of the season, the Spurs have probably been going hard since about August as a unit. And that progress showed, and it leads all the way here to tonight, Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm not ready for the season to end. Spurs aren't ready for the season to end. And it will be a raucous Frost Bank Center tonight. Keys to the game, I think that there's plenty of things to look at, but essentially keep defending without fouling as much as possible. That I know that's easier said than done in this series, but I think the Spurs need to keep OKC off of the free throw line. OKC made more free throws than the Spurs attempted in Game 5, and a lot of that is SGA getting to the line 17 times, and that is just something that is unacceptable. In fact, multiple outlets reported it, that SGA has now made more free throws than field goals in this playoff run. So hopefully that is a sign to the officials that they need to call it a little bit tighter. I know that he's really good at drawing those fouls, but once again, just not fun for majority of basketball fans to see the way the foul merchant gets to the free throw line, and hopefully those criticisms are heard by the officials and we have a good old-fashioned physical but not too physical battle. Call the legitimate fouls and don't give the benefit of the doubt to people who run into players and fall down, like we were seeing a good bit in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. And then hopefully Game 7, the whistle stays a bit more consistent as it was in Game 1 and 4, where these guys were able to play basketball legitimately, not have any touch fouls called like in Game 3, not allow players to just get away with assault on Wemby like they did with Isaiah Hartenstein in Game 2. and then we can just talk about basketball and not officiating. That would be ideal. And, again, don't mean to harp on it too much, but the Spurs certainly have their work cut out for them tonight in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Give our final predictions and talk a little bit about this bipartisan project for College Sports Success Act that is going to be proposed on Capitol Hill in the next couple days. We wrap up the second hour of the starting lineup when we come back on Ticket 760. Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wemby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving Govasell the Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go.
Almost 90 years ago, Academy Sports and Outdoors was born right here in Texas. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two. Like beans don't belong in Chile. It's called a feeder road. And how far really means how long. We've been your neighbor for generations. That's why we're adding Texas-sized deals across the store, only in Texas. If you happen to find a better price at a competitor, we'll beat it by 5%. Academy. Fun can't lose.
Pantalones Organic Tequila. Because tequila is fun. Pantalones.
An accident can leave you struggling to pay for medical bills. At Thomas J. Henry, we believe you deserve justice no matter your financial situation. That's why you don't pay us unless we win your case. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. San Antonio, Texas.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
I'm Brandon Rackler, co-founder of Proud Pops Plumbing, Air, Electric.
And I'm Jacob Magby, Brandon's slightly older sorter brother.
When Jake and I worked with our pops installing water heaters for our customers, we learned just how important it is to have enough hot water ready when you need it.
As Pop used to say, nothing beats a hot shower, except maybe a hot shower with someone you love.
Wait, Pop said that?
Sure did.
You mean about him and Mom?
I guess.
Our annual water heater clean and check will make sure your tank is working its best. Free from leaks, clean from corrosion, and ready to provide reliable hot water to your whole family.
But please, don't picture your parents having a shower together.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
Give us a call and we'll pop in.
Visit proudpops.com.
I know what you want. A great experience when getting your new vehicle, hassle-free and upfront pricing, and we promise that at World Car Hyundai. Right now, get 0% financing on 2026 Hyundai Tucson's and Santa Fe's, plus no payments for 90 days. We have low rates on Elantras and Palisades too. Plus, every new vehicle comes with America's Best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and Hyundai Owner's Assurance. Shop online at World Car Hyundai North or WorldCarHyundaiSouth.com and experience the difference for yourself. World Car, for a lifetime.
With approved credit through HMF.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches, the softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Kids grow faster than paychecks and somehow need a whole new wardrobe every 6 months. Tiny little financial consultants with juice boxes. At Kid to Kid Huebner Road, you can buy and sell gently used kids' clothes, toys, baby gear, shoes, cleats, and even score pro and college fan gear for your future MVP. Kid to Kid buys size preemie through 20 youth and pay cash or 20% or more in-store credit. Save money, clear the clutter, and shop sustainably. Located at Huebner and Northwest Military. Follow at Kid to Kid Huebner Road on Instagram. Kid to Kid Huebner Road. Buy, sell, save.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free original stations waiting for you to explore right now, like Southern Rock Ride. The greatest Southern rock hits from the 70s and 80s. Skinner, 38 Special, Allman Brothers, and more. Open the free iHeartRadio app, search Southern Rock Ride, and listen now. Free never sounded so good.
Your morning drive, your morning takes. Back to the starting lineup.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm your host, Carl Schoening. LG in the starting lineup with me. And hey, finally some good news from Washington, D.C. There is a bipartisan, quote, Protect College Sports Act, end quote, that proposes a salary cap for players, antitrust protection, and NIL regulation. This comes down from CBS Sports. I want to jump right into it. After several delays, the Cantwell-Cruz bill was formally introduced on Wednesday morning. And remember, it's a bill, not a law, but some of the things here that come down on this report. Years of dead ends have led to eventually this finally coming out. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican out of Texas, a ranking member, along with Maria Cantwell, a Democrat out of the state of Washington, have announced the Protect College Sports Act, a bipartisan bill to reform college sports, which, you know, before I continue, it's a shame that the NCAA had been dragging their feet to do this and relied on the government of all people to actually do something, but the government all too happy to take advantage of any delays or distractions they can from the mess that they are. And like I said, I don't talk about politics because I know a lost cause when I see one, but when they get involved in our sports, I have to mention it. The article goes on to say the bill carries a prize college sports leader have chased for the better part of a decade, a limited antitrust exemption regarding player eligibility and transfer rules, the legal shield that would allow the industry to write its own rules and enforce them without being challenged in the court system by players seeking additional years on the playing fields and courts. The bill comes back to since withdrawn SCORE Act, which also promised antitrust protection. With any bipartisan bill, compromises were part of the process, drafting the Cantwell-Cruz bill, and what did and didn't make the upcoming legislation is paramount to the power players. Along with antitrust protections, the bill addresses player movement and transfer portal eligibility windows, legally limiting player movement as few as one transfer per career. The NCAA is close to adopting an age-based eligibility model that will allow players to compete up to 5 seasons. But this is where it gets interesting. They want to get salaries under control, and the legislation draft also imposes a hard and enforceable salary cap on players, which I think is great for the have-nots, because we were talking about it earlier. It's going to be hard for somebody like Texas State to even have a chance against an LSU where, you know, basically their starting quarterback is making more than the entire team, essentially. But schools have began sharing portion of their revenues with players because of the House versus the NCAA settlement a year ago, but outside NIL deals, including those affiliated with booster collectives and multimedia rights holders, have allowed universities to circumvent the system and supplement players' salaries outside of the 20.5 million schools are permitted to share with players. Some of the things I saw on this are that perhaps a hard salary cap of around $20 or $30 million is going to be implemented, and for at least college football, I think that's great. I think one of the additional notes that I saw on here that I haven't read through the entirety of the article. It's a really lengthy article on CBS Sports that goes into it and even talks about things like that will be known as the Lane Kiffin rule, where Coaches will not be able to just leave mid-season and go to another school, which I think should just be the standard practice. It doesn't make much sense that Ole Miss could have such a stellar season and then their coach leaves for LSU before the bowl game or the college football playoffs. But I digress. The big thing here is they can finally just create contracts with players. These contracts, I believe, should have some kind of buyout to where, let's go ahead and say UTSA is able to sign a kid to 2 years and, like someone, Trey Moore, for example, goes off, has a great year at UTSA. Texas wants him. Meep, right? So Texas wants him, and they have to now, in my opinion, this is how it should go, pay UTSA some sort of buyout, because UTSA should have these players under contract and thus get some kind of compensation when they leave that contract. At the moment, basically, you can work your way up your value at UTSA and say, hey, now after one season in the American, I'm ready to go to a Power 4 conference. Who wants me? And UTSA is left out in the cold. They're down probably their best player, and they don't get any money out of it either. What I hope happens is that they are able to lock in that player to a contract, and there's a buyout within that contract. So if Texas wants to take the best player from UTSA, there is replacement money available there. And I feel like that would be the best way for this to go. However, if there's going to only be one transfer allowed and then they're back to where you have to sit out a year, then all of a sudden you're probably talking about the end of, I guess, the transfer portal era. And, once that's a little bit more regulated, we can get back to having these guys just stick around for a couple years, and that would be nice. I don't know how far they're going to be able to enforce some of those rules. Once this bill makes a little bit further along the legislative process, we will certainly keep you updated. I am excited that something is finally happening, and the Wild West of college athletics is slowly coming to a bit more of a regulated Wild West, but it'll still certainly be interesting to see what happens. Final thoughts. LG, I want to bring you back in. Prediction for tonight. What happens in the Spurs and Thunder?
If the officials let them play actual basketball, Spurs take game 6.
Go Spurs, go!
Love your cynicism there. Correct. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Spurs come out. Wemby comes out hot. The Spurs shut down early. The Thunder, as I feel like they did in Game 4, will say, hey, we can win this in Game 7 back at our place, and they call it a night early. That would be an ideal situation, and the Spurs will be on the road back up to I-35 North to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7. That's my prediction. I'm going to stick with it. Dan Patrick is next here on Ticket 760, but be sure that you set your alarm for 6 a.m. sharp tomorrow. We will recap Spurs and Thunder Game 6. I'm calling it a win right now, manifesting it, putting it out in the ether. I'll be there tonight with Dan Weiss on the call for the Spurs Radio Network. Spurs Radio Game Night gets started at 7. Dylan Emery will have Spurs Countdown at 6:30. We'll see you there tonight. Go Spurs, go.
Spurs Insider, brought to you by South Padre Island.
Spurs will look to stave off elimination this evening as the Western Conference Finals return to the Frost Bank Center for Game 6, with the Thunder leading the best-of-7 series 3-2. Julian Champagnie scored a playoff-high 22 points and pulled down a team-high 8 rebounds. Stephon Castle paced the attack with 24 points, but the Spurs fell to the Thunder 127-114 Tuesday in Game 5 at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. Coverage tonight begins at 7 on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI.